result of looking at the rod and reel as a system, as a unity really, because, well, they're connected and they affect each other. Imagine the reel is say it's that far away from the rod. As you're going through your casting stroke, it's going to be swinging around and affecting, the balance of the rod and the smoothness of the stroke. So now the next logical step is imagine the mass of that reel sharing the axis of the rod. So what we've got is two identical rods, lines right down to the fly.
Yep, I can see that.
And we'd like you to cast both and just tell us what you think.
Now this is the first time I've cast a center axis rod, and you can feel a difference in the balance. And then I'm not sure exactly how a copywriter would write this feeling, but just for me, I feel like I'm really just in tune with the rod and the line and what I'm doing, the type of cast I'm doing. The weight of the reel is just sort of out of play. It sort of is just blended into the whole casting stroke.
I remember when we were first designing reels, we had the opportunity to meet with some of the leading rod designers in the country and observe how they thought about rod design.
First thing that was obvious is they didn't test rods with the reel on them.
Right.
And the explanation that I heard was that it was easier for them to feel the nuances of the rod action without the weight and without the mass of the reel muddying up the experience.
So I remember one of the takeaways was make the reel as light as possible in a standard foot format, which you then did by creating the world's lightest machined reel. But even better than that, take that mass and move it, de-lever it, right? Move it into alignment with the center axis.
It feels more kind of part of the rod, as opposed to on the rod. You can just tell a little bit of a difference. The weight on the regular footed reels, you can tell feels down here. I've never really casted or held a rod like this with the reel on the back, So just my first impression is it feels more like you're just holding a rod as opposed to a rod with the reel. This one here just kind of feels like, the rod becomes more part of your arm than a separate tool.
I really didn't think it was going to make that much of a difference. Definitely feels a lot different. Is it the same weight as the traditional setup? Yeah, it feels way lighter. Well, it's pretty cool how, it is all rod. The roll cast is nice and it doesn't take a lot of work like a lot of the faster action rods. That's kind of what I like about the rod itself. It's easy to manipulate and use. Even on the offhand casting, it's just so smooth. But that's what's really nice about this, because you can actually, when you lean on it, you feel that whole rod. So I'm really happy to see that you actually built a really good rod. I think you just have to learn to let the rod do the work, and that's what's kind of nice, because you don't have to lean into it. Of course, that's one of the things I like. I'm not a huge believer in the overlining a faster action rod to slow it down.
Like you're casting the rod and not the rod and the reel. It's sort of interesting. It's small, but I can feel it. It's more like the rod and you are talking and not the weight of the reel talking to you. One thing I've noticed, and I'm sure it was meant to be, was just the ease of roll casting. This is just the type of rod that you have progressive power down low and it goes up to the tip, and it's just beautiful to roll cast for, picking up line and just roll casting for a fishing cast. It's one of the easiest roll casting rods I've ever used. It's absolutely effortless and it really goes. That's a nice thing to have in a rod. And I think that sets it up as a type of rod that has smooth, even power. And you can really muscle out some line with it. But today here on a spring creek, this is just ideal for these delicate little reach casts and just fishing. Just not necessarily just getting out and casting a mile of line, calling that a good rod. This is a great fishing rod.
Fundamentally, the better your casting technique, the more this is going to reward you. The quietness of the system is going to really clarify the timing of the loading of the blank and where you are in the casting stroke. It just is going to speak to you very clearly.
It just feels more pure. It feels like you're getting you're taking away some of the noise and you're getting the same of what you want, but taking away noise. So I think you guys figured out why it needs to be different before you made it different. You're not different to be different. There's a function, and it worked. I don't know. I think this is how fishing is supposed to feel.
So I was thinking about ways to articulate what I think CA does, and as an archer, that analogy comes to mind. When you're letting loose a good shot, it's just all about the arrow. In your mind, the arrow is all that matters. With fly casting, I think there's a lot of similarity there. There's an arm, there's a reel, there's a rod, but all this is about the line. It's all about getting the line straight behind you so it can absorb energy and accelerate. It needs to be as clean as possible. The chattering stuff and the noise that happens with a reel wobbling around sends all this distracting stuff to your brain. And now, if it's all lined up, all the energy goes into accelerating the line, and it's just this beautiful loop that you can set loose. And I think with the CA, your brain goes right to the line, and it just is a connection there without distraction.